So, what is family life education? There's a famous story that talks about a couple that moved to a new city. And in this city, there was a river that went past the city, and many people would drown in the river and never be heard from again. And so the city leaders were really upset and concerned about that. And so the city decided that they would hire a crew that had a picker that would go and get people out of the river when they fell in, and they hired an ambulance to sit by that so that they could put them directly in an ambulance, and they built a hospital on that side of town so they could go directly to it. And this couple moving to this new town thought, wow, that is a lot of work and effort and money put into helping people who've fallen in the river. Their idea was, why don't we help them before they fall in the river? Why don't we do something about them to keep them out of the river? And so the couple instituted a program where they taught people how to swim. And they put up some fences around areas where the water was the swiftest, where the rapids were. And they educated the people on the dangers of getting in the river alone. And as a result, the number of deaths went down a whole bunch, and they no longer needed the crew, and they no longer needed the ambulance to sit by the river. That is a lot like family life education. When families are in distress, a lot of times what we do is we think they need a hospital, they need a ambulance, they need someone to go and pluck them out of that situation. And while those are all good approaches to things, they happen way too far down the line. And family life education is an approach that tries to go up the line and catch people before they get so far down the line that they need these drastic interventions in their lives. So let's talk a little bit about what a family life educator does, or what family life education is, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay. So this graphic, or what we're going to talk about here, is a little bit about what family life education is and why it's necessary for us to have. So if we look at the definition of family life education, and this is something you're going to consider in your CFLE paper in this first module, you're looking at what problems are affecting family life and what can we do that is preventative, educational. What type of interventions can we have to teach people the skills that they need, the swimming lessons or whatever, so that they can get out of the perils that they're in? So it's very important to understand that we're trying to prevent problems from emerging, and that we're trying to develop skills and potential within individuals that they can avoid problems in the future. So the focus here is on strengthening and enriching individual and family well-being. Sometimes individual and family well-being are at odds with one another. Sometimes what's good for the individual isn't necessarily good what's good for the family. If you think about a teenager who wants their freedom and a family who wants the teen to be a part of life, is it more important for the teenager to have space or to be still part of the family and to be involved in everything the family's doing? And the answer is probably some of both, right? So there aren't easy answers always in family life education, but helping a family figure out that balance might be really important. And so that's what family life education focuses on. Very important that we look at things that are relevant to families, that we consider the lifespan and how things change over time, that we look at the needs of individuals, that we bring in multi-disciplines and multi-professional groups to work together. There's a lot of people who are interested in family succeeding, not just family life educators, but social workers and doctors and teachers, and like all different fields interested in promoting family well-being and family life. Here's the other thing. Family life education can occur in so many different settings, and it's important for us to recognize that an educational setting may not be something that's complex. It may be something that's small and whatever. And it also looks at different values, and it requires competency in our educators. And so as you read about NCFR, you'll learn that NCFR has 10 areas of family life education. And if you'll notice, these 10 areas sound a lot like the classes you take here at UVU. Families in social context, internal dynamics of families, human development over the lifespan, human sexuality, interpersonal relationships, family resource management, parent education, family law and public policy, professional ethics and practice, and this class, family life education methodology. Our program is based on NCFR's certified family life educator curriculum, which means that as you finish here, you'll be eligible at UVU when you graduate from UVU to apply to the National Council on Family Relations to be recognized as a certified family life educator. Having completed our program, they'll give you what's called a provisional certification. After you complete a number of hours, they will grant you full certification. And so that is a credential that you can have as a part of what you do here. The history of family life education is that there's always been people like Greek philosophers. If there were other times where we focused a little bit on family life, when we can get away from surviving and start to think about thriving and doing things even better, that's where these opportunities come in. So a lot of what we think about in family life education today came from the late 1980s, or excuse me, the late 1800s, where women who had time on their hands actually got together and met and talked about what might be helpful for families. But we didn't stop there. We continued on into a variety of professional organizations like home economic associations, the cooperative extension that exists at land-grant universities. The federal government set up land-grant universities in every state. For Utah, ours is Utah State, and they are given certain monies, grant monies, and other things to establish agriculture, family life, and other things in every county. So even in Utah County, we have an extension agent that is responsible for teaching about family life. And another, different approaches, whether it's welfare, even in college classes. Ernest Burgess was the first to establish a class that specifically focused on family. So the National Council on Family Relations began in 1934, and it was renamed in 1938. Funny story, it's like a joke. It was formed by a sociologist, a priest, and a rabbi. And the three of them walked into a bar. No, that's not the joke. But understanding that these three people got together and said, we care about families. Religious leaders, sociologists, they got together and started working on that. And over 90% of the research we have on families has been published since 1940, and even more so now today. And so we've established programs across the country in many different universities with many different names. Sometimes it's human development and family studies, or child life, or this or that. In our instance here, we stuck with the name family science. And we feel like it's important because science is what we use to be able to describe those things. So why do we need family life education? Well, not everyone has a perfect home life. Not all experiences have been good, and all of us could benefit from some formal training. If you think about it, a lot of times there are times in our lives when we are more vulnerable and more willing to get help. I can remember when I first became a parent, we took a delivery class, a class on labor and delivery, as well as some basic infant care skills. Why? Because we knew nothing about babies, nothing about how often they need to be bathed, or when can you introduce certain foods, and what about this and what about that? We had no idea. And so we went to a class. Sometimes when people go to get married, they want to learn, hey, how can we strengthen our marriage? These are all opportunities where these interventions can take place. Sometimes it's when families start to have problems that maybe aren't severe enough to go to therapy, but they need help. And so family life education fits in a variety of those. The other place where family life education comes in is the changing of families. If we look at contemporary families today, they look drastically different. They have fewer children. They are more often in city settings than in country settings. They get started later. There's a number of different things that happen: divorce, remarriage, step families. All of these trends are very important to consider. If you think about the pattern that most people expect to follow, there's a script that's kind of outlined for family life. And when I get off script, like if I get divorced, or if I don't get married, or if I can't have kids, all of a sudden it gets a little bit more difficult in family life because my expectations don't match what my outcomes are. Even people going through the stages in the expected way also have issues. They also don't always follow things just to a pattern, and their expectations are not always met. And so family life education can be an important intervention for those people. So what can you take from this? Most important thing I would tell you to take is to recognize that families are more complex than we've ever thought of them before. And because they're more complex, it means that they need help. And family life educators are there to provide information to help people prevent some of those problems that come to fruition. We need more help, we need more education, and we need more early interventions to keep people from getting into more difficult places. So the point of this class is to learn how to identify groups that need help, to identify the needs that they have, and to write curriculum that will help address those needs. Most importantly, we need to learn how to teach effectively. And so this class will focus on those effective teaching strategies that will really get us down the road and really get us to where we need. We're so grateful to have you here in FAMS-4500. I think when students sometimes see the syllabus, they start to panic and they start to think this is a lot. And it is, and it is. This is a senior level class, and our goal is to get you ready to do everything that you need to do to be able to accomplish these things. One thing that I always tell students is that you can eat an elephant if you take one bite at a time. As long as you keep working with your group and keep charging and keep going, you'll get all the assignments done that are in this class. Many students have successfully passed this class, and you too can do it. You just have to keep going. Very, very important that you keep in contact with your group and that you are having conversations with them early and often, and that you're available to them. Do your part. Work in those groups and do the things that you need to do. If you don't, your group will hold you accountable as we get down the road. Lastly, we are so excited to have help in this field, to reach out to people and to help improve their lives. We need all the help we can get, and we're grateful that you're here to learn how to do that and take these skills and be able to do it somewhere else. I just want to mention that the things that you will create in this class are pretty amazing. I've had over 15 students in the time that I've taught take their curriculum that they wrote in this class into a job interview. And as they were talking, they mentioned that they had a skill set to be able to do this. And the person said, well, what does that look like? And they actually pulled out of their bag their curriculum that they had helped to write and the parts that they did. And the person looking at it said, this is something you can do? And they say, yeah, this is something I can do. And they were hired on the spot. And so 15 people have gotten hired just by the assignments that they're able to accomplish here. And I can't tell you how many more um, use the skills that they have in this class in a variety of employment situations that they have. So pay attention. This may be one of the most important classes that you take in this major this semester in your life, because you're going to learn skills that will help you to do things that very few people are able to do. So we're grateful to have you here, and just keep swimming.